Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast. I am the wisdom dialoguer and the motivational warrior for the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast. We want to make sure that we are here to talk about mental health awareness. Hashtag break the stigma. How can we have everyone say hashtag break the stigma? What mental health is. What does mental health entail? How are you doing, Karen son? What does it entail? What does it look like? Why are we suffering from it? Once again, I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast, and I want to make sure that I'm enlightening people on tonight because this is a very important topic of purpose. And why do we need Mental Health Awareness Month? And understand May is Mental Health Awareness Month. As you see, I'm wearing green. Green represents mental health awareness. Why do we need Mental Health Awareness Month? The mental health issues can lead a person to far worse conditions than the most dangerous disease does. I want to read that again. The mental health issues can lead the person to far worse conditions than the most dangerous disease does. That is why mental health awareness has become the primary need for people, so that the month of May has been observed as the Mental Health Awareness Month in the United States of America since 1949. Understand what does that mean? We need to understand what mental health means. What does it mean to you? I want people to take the opportunity to think about yourself. Start taking accountability and responsibility for your action, for everything that you do. For everything that you do, start taking accountability and responsibility. Why are you saying that, Judah? Because right now, mental health has risen since the pandemic. Other things are happening because of mental health issues, but no one is addressing it. No one is telling us how to address it. Some of us are trying to address it ourselves. So I came on to do this live because season 3, which will be episode 2, is talking about problems, issues, and situations. And I'm not saying that mental health is a problem. I'm not saying mental health is the issue. I'm not saying mental health is a situation. But mental health is present. Let's say that. Mental health is present. How you doing, writing by Winifred? We have to understand what does that mean for us. Mental health can affect daily living relationships and physical health. I'm going to repeat that. Mental health can affect daily living relationships. Daily living being one, relationships being the other, and physical health. Factors in people's lives, interpersonal connections, and physical factors can all contribute to mental health disruptions. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Let me repeat that. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood, adolescence, and through adulthood. I want to pause for this moment right now because I know right now I'm probably going to not have a lot of viewers, but know that the message is getting out there. And I'm telling you, as I have said in many of my podcasts, that I'm about truth and transparency. And this is a hard topic to discuss, but I'm that person to have those hard conversations. I'm that person to talk about that mental health. Let's talk about childhood. If we're looking at childhood, we're looking at forms of abuse, which could be physical, which could be spiritual, which could be physical. Um, and bullying is a form of abuse. It's so many things that encompass what that entails that could lead to trauma in your childhood. I know this is a hard topic right now, but I need people to listen. This is the important part of today's thing is listening. Listening to yourself. What is causing me trauma in my life right now? What is causing me disruption in my life right now? Am I still living in the past of what happened? Can I not get over what happened in the past? The things that happened in my childhood, the things that happened in my adolescence, and the things that continue to happen in my adulthood. So we must understand, what does this feel like? What does this look like? Mental health does not have a face. Mental health does not have a feel. It's all about the disruption of your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So, what are you saying, Judah? In essence of everything, we want to make sure that we're discussing that it's okay not to be okay. But once you realize that you're not okay, how are you changing that pattern? How are you changing that behavior? That's important. How are you changing it? How are you being important to and showing up for work every day? How is it important when you're a parent and you have children? How are you showing up every day in their lives? It's okay not to be okay. What am I saying? I'm saying that it's okay not to be okay. But understanding you it's in your okay being not okay is that you still have to show up at work, at church, everywhere. But the biggest problem that I have is, how do we continue to be captured in this? I have a question on the board that says, how do you change it? First of all, what I've learned in therapy sessions, yes, Judah, go to therapy sessions. I have a life coach. I have several things because still we have to identify what it is. Correct? Who is able to identify? You can say what it is, but until you really, really, and I'm going to tell you a process that I personally went through, is identifying it. And understand it's how you felt. So let's start thinking about our feelings. Did this really happen? Did this did this situation happen? Did this problem happen? Did this issue happen? Number two, is it trauma? Is it abuse? What is it? Name it. But in that, stop and think about, don't think about it in your head. A lot of times I take a book like this and I write in it. You see, I got a whole little scribble. But in the important thing in me writing in this, so I can put it out on paper. Because a lot of us like to do what? The thought process. And that's where we leave it at until it comes back. Stop thinking about it. Write it down. The important part of this is writing the issues down. How can you address them if they're in your head? And guess what? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So if you're thinking about it all the time, guess what that's going to play with? Your psychological piece. If you're thinking about it all the time, guess what that's going to do? Have you worrying all the time. And then you don't want to go anywhere because you're thinking people are talking about you. So sometimes we have to look inside ourselves. Let me give you this game that I used to play with myself. Turn yourself inside out. Do anybody know what that means? Turn yourself inside out. Understand, if I turn myself inside out, what would only be shown? That'll be my bones and my muscles. What does everybody have? Bones and muscles. So guess what? Everybody looks the same now. Sometimes we have to identify that we become our worst critic. And what does that mean? And understand, they said, agree, you must know what it is in order to fix it. So my question is this: what if you don't know what it is? But the thing is, sometimes, and because if y'all don't know, Judy used to be a therapist. I get people saying that um, I don't want to know what it is. Well, how can you fix it? I choose not to bring that up, but if you never address it, how are you going to fix it? That's just like if we hold a glass in our hand. If it drops, what it's going to do? It's going to break. It's going to break into pieces. But in breaking into pieces, the number one thing is you have an option. If that was one of your good mugs or your good coffee drink, you can go get some Gorilla Glue, no pun intended, and fix it. You can sweep it up and trash it. You have options, you have choices. And guess what? In your psychological, in your emotional, in your social well being, you have choices as well. And that's important. What are those choices? What are those things that you can do in life? Well, glad you asked. The one thing that you can do is write down. Write it down. Write it down. Let's say, for instance, I'll take me for example. I had childhood trauma. Okay? What does that mean? My stepmother abused me. You see what I'm saying? Physically abused me. Mentally abused me. You see how I'm giving actual adverbs to what happened? But I'm writing this down. So take it. If you go from your childhood, you can write a topic about childhood. You can go to adolescence, and then you go to adulthood. Start listing those things. You have to start listing those things. Because guess what? The more you keep them in your mind is the more you will discomfort and disrupt your mental health status. Am I saying mental health being that you're crazy? No, we're not crazy. It's something that made us not feel well at this moment, and that's why I call mental health. That's my soft way of saying it. My hard way of saying it is too much trauma piled up on us, too much pain piled up on us, too much disruption piled up on us, whether it's emotional, psychological, or our social well-being. What do you do? Sometimes you have to address the issue as what it is. And speaking with one of my clients way back when, she had an issue with her mother and how her mother raised her and things like that. The first thing is, what we don't want to do is come off as, I didn't like the way you raised me. Okay? You have to come in with a clean mind and a clean slate. You can't come in with a broken heart. You got to put all your feelings away. You got to tag them feelings somewhere, put them in the closet, put them up. You got to come in with your questions first and foremost. And like I told them, write your questions out. Write those questions out that you want to make known. But then also, whoever you're accusing or whoever you're talking to, Make sure they're able to express how they felt as well. And that gives us open dialogue. Understand what I said. Let's have dialogue. Let's talk about these problems. Let's talk about these hard conversations. Let's cry together. Because guess what? Everybody has gone through something. So why can't we start healing each other? My God. But we're too afraid because guess what? Back in the day, guess what we were told? What goes on in this house stays in this house. And look where that got us. Confused, emotionally just strapped, psychologically just strapped. And we didn't know where to turn. I know people say that you can do many things. But one thing is, I always tell people when you can't assist yourself, then go to someone that can assist you. Let me be honest with you. Every therapist is not a good therapist. Every counselor is not a good counselor. Every life coach is not a good life coach. It's sort of like you're going to a used car dealership or a new car dealership. Are you just going to pick out anything and not drive it? Are you? That's important. You must drive your mental health. You must take the initiative in making sure that you are prepared to tackle your mental health. What are you saying, Judah? I'm saying this is that your mental health is important to you getting better with your emotions, you getting better with psychologically, and you getting better with your social well-being. How does that happen? First of all, you must know what you're dealing with. You have to have the desire to choose you. How many of us have a desire to choose us? I know I had the desire to choose me. I had the desire to choose me. But the problem is, what I had was I was too busy listening to other people and let other people dictate what I should be or who I should act as or whatever. Don't we have a lot of them? Raise your hand if you have a lot of them out there, people telling you how to live. How can you live for yourself? That's important. How do you show up for yourself? I'm going to go ahead and put this plug out there. I started a group in Facebook. It's called Check In, Check Up. Only thing you got to do is pin me if you want to join. But I'm going to tell you what this group is about. This group is about during these times, do we really have enough people or a person to assist us through hard times? This group is for those who wish to express their feelings and desires to get better when there is no one else to talk to or converse with. Are you holding trauma or pain and need release? Allow this to be a resource to other resources. This group will post resources in your area and any other information needed. Let's have dialogue. Go ahead and post. Whenever you join this group, go ahead and post. Telling your story could possibly save others. So why are we afraid to tell our story? These questions are out on the board. Why are we afraid to tell our story? Why? Because we feel like people will ostracize us. So here's my question back to you. So if you tell your story, what if you help someone? That's important. Our biggest problem is we hold too much in and we're not ready to pour out. So have the desire first. Have the desire to want to get better. How many of us want to get better? That's important. Only you know if you want to get better. I can't tell you you need to get better. You have to tell yourself that I want to get better. That's the only way that I can get better. People can tell me how great I am, how good I look, how this, that, and the third. But until I physically wanted to get better, that's the only way I got better. And that's important. Self-esteem is important. Everybody could look at me and possibly think that I had great self-esteem. No, that was not in the forefront of a lot of things. Just wasn't. I had to gain my self-esteem. But then again, I have to first see me and practice self-care for myself. A lot of us live for family. A lot of us live for people in our lives. A lot of us live for social interaction. But what are they getting? What are they giving back to you? What are they giving back to you? So the importance of this is I want us to learn how to beat the stigma. Hashtag break the stigma. Hashtag break the stigma. Mental health is real. Mental health is a part of us in this society, in this day and time. It has always been a part. But we swept it under the rug along with all the other dirt. Hashtag what they say, sweep behind your own back door. Clean all the skeletons out your closet. Trust me. Start unpacking some of your load. I think, well, I know Erica Badu said it best. Bag lady. You're going to hurt yourself carrying all those bags. Bag men. You're going to hurt yourself carrying all those bags. And what does she mean by those bags? Depression, anxiety, trauma, abuse. Those are bags. Hurt, pain, and many other bags. But how often do you take that trash out and leave it in the dumpster? We need to start packing that up and throwing it in the trash. How does that look for you? How are we going to maintain our sobriety and our mental health? And most people don't call it mental health. Most people say something wrong with me. I want to break it down in terms. Whatever it is, let's get it fixed. Are there any questions? I'm going to leave the room for comments and questions at this particular time. Any comments or questions? Comments or questions? Right now, we're talking about it's okay not to be okay. I'm on Instagram Live. I'm also on Facebook Live. This will be shared to the podcast as season 3, episode 2. And we're just wanting to engage mental health awareness. Trust me, everyone goes through it. It's just not a you or me thing. Everyone goes through it. But then again, how many people trying to get out of it? And what does getting out of it looks like for you? Let's have conversation. Let's have dialogue. For those who want to join the group, it's called Check In, Check Up. If you're single, if you're married, if you're in an abusive relationship, this group is for you. If you don't know where to turn sometimes, this group is for you. Check in, check up. We'll be putting resources out there. If you want to DM me and say, hey, I want to join that group. This is going to be a free group, no charge. I'm not charged. No. When God puts something in my heart, there's no charge. Jesus paid it all. And because we need to be resourceful to one another, this is mandatory because we're losing too many people to suicide, domestic violence, police brutality, and we need to have an understanding of what's going on. Any questions, any comments? Feel free to ask. I know this might not be the platform where people want to ask a lot of questions, but I understand that it's okay not to be okay. But in understanding what okay is how long you're going to stay in that funk. How long are you going to stay in that state of not being okay? You got to come back out of it. Sometimes we stay in that. It's I'm just going to stay in me not being okay. How do you raise that bar? First of all, you have to desire to raise that bar. What does that desire look like for you? My desire to raise that bar was I'm better than not being okay. I'm supposed to have joy. I'm supposed to have peace. But guess what? In my not being okay, let me stay here for a day or two and let me gauge what my temperature is going to be a little bit later. And I use it in a scale of temperatures because in my not being okay, I might be at a 55. And I don't say, oh, well, am I okay? I want to be 100. Because that's not realistic. I can move my 55 degrees to a 65 or a 75. Give me a little wiggle room to not to be okay, but pushing that bar up to okay. So we have to take baby steps. I mean, how many of you guys came out the womb talking? If you came out the womb talking, maybe you just had miracle baby. But we have to take baby steps because in this process, our brain has to adjust to the new mindset too as well. Because we've been caught up for so long in not being okay. It's become a learned behavior. Some things that I want to mention is because I mentioned learned behavior is some of our social environment was learned behavior. We learn from our forefathers, fathers, mothers, society, wherever you went about in life, you learned something that could have had a negative impact on you. True? Yes, that's true. But what are you doing to erase that? Some things that I do, I had to shed off all of my learned behavior. I didn't want that anymore because my learned behavior I started seeing images of other people and not me. Because I'm not trying to be like, um, let's throw out Jamie Foxx. Let's say that. So say for instance, if I was trying to mimic Jamie Foxx and I kept seeing images of Jamie Foxx, but that wasn't Judah. So I had to remove that mimicking piece and that learned behavior of what I thought how I should be like Jamie Foxx and start creating things for Judah. And that's the important piece. Start creating things for you right now. What do you look like? What do you look like happy? What do you look like with joy? What do you look like with peace? It's time for us to take that facade off. Let's stop faking. Let's stop facading these people. Oh, I'm okay. But you're not really okay. But you continue to say I'm okay. And why? Because guess what? That's a learned behavior in which we have incorporated. Then we go home, curl up in the bed, and we're there for months. You're not okay. Just say, I'm not okay. I don't know how some of your friends will react to that, but I tell my friends if I'm not okay. No, I'm not feeling well. If they tell me, well, you must get out the house. That's see, you don't even understand. It's okay not to be okay. And you tell them Judah said that. It's okay not to be okay. And you can say that right now. Say that in your spot right now. It's okay not to be okay. But in me not being okay, guess what? I'm not staying in not being okay mode. And if I could measure myself with not being okay, I'm at a 45, I'm at a 35, wherever you may be at. But whenever you feel like turning okay back on, You can measure that too as well. I want to be tomorrow at 55. I won't be all the way okay because I have not gotten rid of some of these situations, these issues, these problems, this trauma that I've been holding on to. When can I go talk to somebody? Start charting down some of those things. As you see right here, this is one of my whiteboards I write on every day. Give yourself affirmations. Affirmations don't work for everybody. I'm just going to be honest. But choose something in which will give you pleasure and joy. And that's the important part. We all have different personalities. We all have different creative spirits. We all have different things. But what brings you joy is important. I want everybody to know that there are mental health agencies out there to assist in your well being. I will post them on the podcast. And also just be looking out for more problems, issues, and situations. This is season 3, episode 2, problems, situations. Understanding that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's why I have my green on because the ribbon is green. But today, the hashtag for this is break the stigma. So I want everyone listening out there right now, every time that you post something, put hashtag break the stigma. And if you want to join the Facebook private group, I did mention that it is private. No one else can see it, but who's in the group? Facebook private group. Check in, check up. And we're going to be doing a lot of things because I got this little system over here where we'll be doing some live chats in that group too as well. So I want us to be forever being resourceful and creating great dialogue in the group and also providing healing for each other. If there is no more answers or no more questions, no more comments, I am Judah Bernard with the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast. I am the Wisdom Dialoguer and the Motivational Warrior with some more up close and personal with Judah Bernard, where I might not be interviewing a lot of people, but I know a lot of people just don't want to talk about their problem, issues, and situations. We need to talk about them because guess what? Only way we can talk about it is speaking their existence and speaking that out. Speaking it out of us. Because the more we hold it inside, the more it builds up. So let's hashtag break the stigma. And also remember May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And understand it's okay not to be okay. I do provide motivational text every Wednesday. You can text The Rise to 844-452-4110. You can text The Rise, all one word in all caps, to 844-452-4110 to receive motivational text every Wednesday. And also you can Google The Rise Creating Your Voice. Also, you can see that I'm on many platforms. I've also just became a member of Pandora. So The Rise Creating Your Voice is on Pandora too as well. So anywhere you want to listen, just listen to it. I want everyone just to close your eyes right now and know that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to lift your hands up and notice that the blood is running through your veins. It's okay to wiggle your fingers. It's okay to now place your hands on your thighs. It's okay to whatever fabric that you're wearing, or if you have your bare legs, to feel the warmth of your legs through your hands and noticing it. It's okay to now lift up your feet one foot at a time and notice how you're placing them on the ground. It's okay to notice your breathing as you breathe in and you breathe out. It's okay to know that you are loved by the rise creating your voice. And always remember that we love hard. As we leave today, you can open your eyes and always remember, give yourself a hug. Give yourself a hug. And giving yourself a hug, know that you can tell a friend, tell a foe, tell your spouse, heck, tell everyone. We'll see you on the next podcast. Okay? Goodbye.